Emotional damage.
Hello, 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 white America. Speaking of white America, we got Pete Buttigieg coming in, just hanging out, watching the DNC. Come hang out, say hello.
Never forgetting those victims.
Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, a swelling of the applause here in the hall.
Good evening, Democrats.
From South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you, Chicago.
Let's listen.
Here's a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself saying.
What's
I'm
that?
Pete Buttigieg, and you might recognize me from Fox News. I believe in going anywhere, in service of a good cause, and friends, we gather in a very good cause, electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the next president and vice president of the United States. The choice could not be clearer. Donald Trump rants about law and order, as if he wasn't a convicted criminal running against a prosecutor. As if we were going to forget that crime was higher on his watch. Talks about the forgotten man, hoping we'll forget that the only economic promise that he actually kept was to cut taxes for the rich. And don't even get me started on his new running mate.
Okay.
At least Mike Pence was polite. J.D. Vance is one of those guys who thinks if you don't live the life that he has in mind for you, then you don't count.
Like you.
Someone who said that if you don't have kids, you have, quote, no physical commitment to the future of this country. You know, Senator, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then.
What's up, Joshua?
Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you,
Ooh, lecture.
our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
Pink.
Choosing a guy like J.D. Vance to be America's next vice president sends a message. And the message is that they are doubling down on negativity and grievance. Committing to a concept of campaigning best summed up in one word: darkness. Darkness is what they are selling.
Black people.
The thing is, I just don't believe that America today is in the market for darkness.
That's racist. Unreal.
I believe America is ready for a better kind of politics. Yes, politics at its worst can be ugly, crushing, demeaning, but it doesn't have to be. At its best, politics can be empowering, uplifting. It can even be a kind of soulcraft. My faith teaches me that the world isn't made up of good people and bad people, but rather that each of us is capable of good and bad things. And I believe leaders matter because of what they bring out in each of us, the good or the bad. Right now, the other side is appealing to what is smallest within you. They're telling you that greatness comes from going back to the past. They're telling you that anyone different from you is a threat.
Maybe the future sucks.
They're telling you that your neighbor or nephew or daughter who disagrees with you politically isn't just wrong, but is now the enemy. I believe in a better politics, one that finds us at our most decent and open and brave.
Oh,
the kind of
God.
politics that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are offering. And as you have felt these many days, that kind of politics also just feels better to be part of. There is joy in it.
Feels.
as well as power. And if all of that sounds naive, let me insist that I have come to this view not by way of idealism, but by way of experience.
I'm going to come.
Not just the experience of my unlikely career. Someone like me serving in Indiana, serving in Washington, serving in uniform.
A white guy?
I'm thinking of something
Yeah, you're so
much
unique.
more basic.
Oh.
I'm thinking of dinner time at our house in Michigan.
Oh.
When the dog is barking and the air fryer is beeping and the mac and cheese is boiling
He's
over,
really painting a
it feels
picture
like
for us.
all the political negotiating experience in the world is not enough for me to get our 3-year-old son and our 3-year-old daughter to just wash their hands and sit at the table.
He's just
It's the
like
part
us.
of our day when politics seems the most distant. And yet the makeup of our kitchen table, the existence
God,
of
the
my
kitchen
family,
table stuff.
it's just one example of something that was literally impossible as recently
Look.
as 25
We all eat on our couches.
years ago when an anxious teenager growing up in Indiana wondered
Oops. Sorry.
and sits there. The fears and the dreams that you talk about late into the night there. All of it compels us to demand more from our politics than a rerun of some TV wrestling death match.
He really thought that was going to
So
be a
this
big point.
November, we get to choose. We get to choose our president. We get to choose our policies, but most of all, we will choose a better politics. A politics that calls us to our better selves and offers us a better everyday. That is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz represents. That is what Democrats represent. That is what awaits us when America decides to end Trump's politics of darkness once and for all. That is what we choose when we embrace the leaders who are out there
Oh
building
my God.
bridges and reject
He's
the
cooking.
ones who are out
Let
there
him cook.
banning books. This is what we will work for every day to November and beyond. So let's go win this. Thank you, Democrats.
Secretary
Jeez.
Pete Buttigieg.
That like I just, they're the people that create so much division, separating people by race, gender, sexuality. They're all about division. And the idea, as Joe Biden says,
It's clear that
that they are the one that sows peace and unity. Okay. God. That's what I like to call an absolute
lie, okay?
That's the best lie I've ever seen.
divisiveness.
Okay, let's
That's
go
what
back.
we heard from Oprah. That's what we heard from Secretary Buttigieg as well.
Buddha
David.
bag.
Rachel Scott there on the floor. Rachel, thank you. Just to bring you up to speed at home watching coverage, each one of these nights has gone a little longer than the last, it seems. We had a little bit of that in the Republican convention as well, particularly
We're
a
gonna
night
be
before going a
fair
little
and
later
balanced here.
than we thought. John Legend is coming up next with a performance
God, I really
here with
punched
Sheila
my-
E. as a
Can we put John Legend to rest?
Minnesota tribute of
Can we stop pretending that John Legend is good? Why is he speaking? They are so far back on some of these. Wait. Who's far? What? Okay.
Tiny farm town. This is somebody who
Why is everyone on a different
social
speed?
studies teacher,
Oh,
high
there.
school
There we
coach,
go.
football coach. And
Freaking A.
now he's got John Legend introducing him for his speech.
John Legend, Sheila E. Let's listen.
Oh, God. Brace yourself. Could somebody in the chat please help me understand the obsession with John Legend. I don't get it. I don't get it. He had that one song, All of Me, and then all of a sudden he's everywhere. I don't get the obsession of him and Alicia Keys. I don't get it. I don't get why Democrats just love these two. Unless they have like secret tapes on them. I'm just so confused. Him and Pink, Alicia Keys. It's too much. Oh, let's see, man. Rip it, baby, rip it. Not a clue, but I don't follow the mainstream music much, says Violet. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even call them mainstream. That's why I'm so confused. A lot of boobage. What is this rated? Get it. Every time I see John Legend, I think about that clip of him and Chrissy Teigen talking about that one night at the Obamas. And then they start giggling and laughing. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Gross. She was into it though. Yeah, she was. Okay, she's ripping.
Emotional damage.
John Legend.
Real talk, the girl on the guitar was way better than John Legend.
To Prince, of course, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And, of course, teeing up Governor Walz, the running mate for Kamala Harris, who will speak.
Way better. Just checking other streams. Just checking other streams.
For President herself. Of course, we remember that a few years back. She's a 3-term U.S. Senator from Minnesota.
Joshua says John Legend stalled Century Theory, purposely giving us same old repetitive nostalgic sake. Operation Colon.
And defending Tim Walz against any attacks from the Republican side.
Yeah, and that is certainly their hope that they're going to see another vice president head to the White House from Minnesota. We've now entered the Minnesota portion of the evening.
Okay. I don't want to hear you guys. I want to hear the cringe.
They're going to protect our freedoms.
Oh my God.
Freedom to read whatever books you want. The freedom to work one job and afford your rent.
Okay, yeah, right.
And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will protect your freedom to start a family on your own terms. And if you ask me, that is something worth fighting for. So guys, let's do it. It's time. Let's nominate the next vice president of the United States, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And to take us there, please welcome to the stage Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Oh gosh, she's the
Senator
worst.
Klobuchar. In a dark skirt and dark jacket. White woman.
Who is talking? White woman.
Short dark hair. And a necklace.
That was a warm-up act. On behalf
Who is
of
talking?
the great state of Minnesota,
Audio description?
where purple reigns,
Did you know there was an audio description? I was wondering who was calling her a white woman.
for you
Is
in
the-
support of our next vice president, Tim Walz. In Minnesota, we trust a coach who
Oh, God.
turned a team
Quit
that
calling him
was
coach.
0 and
So cringe.
27 into state champions. In Minnesota, we trust a hunter who has stood in a deer stand in 10-degree weather. In Minnesota, we trust a candidate who has made a viral video on how to change a burnt-out headlight.
I'm going to come.
And I know we aren't alone, but in Minnesota,
Is that a
we
flex?
love a dad in plaid.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Ugh.
So Tim and I go way back. He taught high school
Ugh.
right down the road from where my husband John grew up. My mother-in-law even brought him and Gwen a Parmesan chicken dinner when their son was born. That's what we do in America. We look out for our neighbors. Tim has been doing that his whole life, on the farm and in the factory, with his students and his fellow service members. And the truth is, that matters.
Wow. Yeah.
Who better to take on the price of gas than a guy who could pull over to help change your tire? Who better to serve our nation than a guy who has served in uniform? Who better to find common ground than a guy with Midwestern common sense? A former football coach knows how to level the playing field. And a former public school teacher knows how to school the likes of J.D. Vance. What you've done
Let's get a quick zoom in.
with your life matters.
Oh, God.
And what you do with power matters too. Tim has delivered paid leave,
You got worse teeth than me,
school
girl.
lunches, and the biggest tax cut in Minnesota history.
She's high. she might be
A
high.
Democrat from a red district
look at those
in
eyes.
a purple state. Tim has brought Minnesota together. And together with Vice President Kamala Harris, I know he will do the same for our nation. America, there is so much that we share, so much that connects us. Way up north in Minnesota,
Snore.
out of Lake Itasca,
Say that
flows
again.
the Mississippi River. It starts small and it grows wider.
That's what she said.
It flows down to Wisconsin and to Iowa. It goes down to Illinois
Ooh, we're doing all the states.
and to Missouri.
And then where?
She points to the delegations.
And Tennessee.
How we fun about this audio version?
It goes to Arkansas. And it goes way down to Mississippi. And then it goes all the way down to New Orleans, Louisiana, where the spirit of our nation's resilience abounds. So let us commit here and now to cross the river of our divides,
Rubicon. The
to
Rubicon.
get to a higher ground. And let us join together to elect Kamala Harris and Tim
Heavy flow.
Walz.
He waves to the crowd, which includes a delegate in a red and black flannel shirt.
This audio version is so funny.
Text JOIN to 30330.
Please welcome Ben Ingman from Minnesota.
He's giving out free depends too. Yeah.
A
Yes,
young
that's how.
man in a dark suit, white man, bearded.
Tim Walz is the kind of guy
White
you can
man.
count on to push you out of a snowbank.
Oh God, here we go.
I know this
Dependable
because
dad.
Tim Walz has pushed me out of a snowbank. I grew up next door to the Walzes in Mankato. Mr. Walz was also my geography teacher and my coach. Not for high school football, but for 7th grade basketball
geography
and track.
teacher.
So what was a high school football coach doing, coaching 7th grade basketball and track.
Small school.
Well, there was a kid in the high school who couldn't afford to pay for lunch.
Oh,
And he ran up a lot of debt.
yikes.
And Tim and Gwen decided they'd help pay it off.
Love that story.
They started calling around the district to see if there were any positions they could fill
Look at those
to make a little
eyes.
extra money. And that's how he wound up coaching us 7th graders.
I could get lost in your eyes.
That's right.
Gorgeous.
Coach Walz got us excited about what we might achieve together.
It is so funny.
He believed in us, and he helped us believe in each other.
I love
And
that.
his leadership stuck. That track
Stunk?
team went on to win a state title, just like the football team.
Wow.
That's right. Speaking of which, come on out, Scarlets. Yeah!
He points to the left. The team.
Oh,
in
look at all these fat old
red
guys.
White jerseys takes the stage, waving to the delegates.
It's just harder.
Gwen
You
Walz
can't keep that same diet
in the
up,
audience.
folks.
Waving to the delegates.
Waving to the
Side
delegates.
of Mr. Ingman.
He fell into the snowbank. He probably was drunk. Look at these
The football
dorks.
team.
You guys still have your jerseys? What is happening?
All middle-aged men.
Oh, look at that big boy. Let's get some zoom in. Look at those dudes.
You know,
Just dudes being
all this
dudes.
got me thinking about the kinds of leaders we need. We want the people in charge to be genuine
Yeah.
compassionate.
Oh, God, the irony.
and trustworthy.
Genuine.
The thing is, there are people in our neighborhoods who fit this description.
It's not
The
Tim.
kind of people who display quiet leadership by helping kids pay for their lunches, by bringing teams together
By
to believe in each other.
By lying about his
And when we're
wartime
stuck in the
experience.
snow,
Uh-huh.
they push us out.
Because I was drunk.
Well, in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
we always wish that people like that would run for office. Well, in my neighborhood,
Uh-huh.
someone like that did run for office.
Wow.
And he's going to be a wonderful vice president. Thanks very much.
He applauds.
Look at
The
this big
football
boy.
team applauds.
No black guys. Good call, Marcia.
A video.
Apparently, Tim Walz is from a very racist, a different time before they allowed black people to play sports. You remember the good old days, back when white people could play every position.
Family farm.
Dude rolled off the couch for this. How racist, I know.
Class. His dad served during the Korean War, and that meant a lot to Tim. So he enlisted
Gwen
on
Walz.
his 17th birthday and served 24 years in the National Guard, rising to Command Sergeant Major.
Lie.
Tim went to college
Photographs of
on
Tim
a GI Bill.
in the
and became
National
a
Guard.
social studies teacher.
Oh, we did
That's
say
where
war.
Tim and I met. We shared a classroom with a divider right down the middle. His classroom was a lot louder than mine, but I could hear how engaged his students were.
Oh.
Tim taught for over 15 years, and he coached football, helping lead the team to a state
Are we going to hear football 100 times tonight? Is that what's happening?
a few years before.
Did you know? Did you guys know that Tim taught football? He taught it. He didn't coach it. He taught football.
Yeah. Those kids didn't know what that sport was back in those days.
Agreed to serve as faculty advisor because
Oh,
he knew
can we
how
get you spinning the
impactful
ball?
it would be to have a
Perfect.
football coach involved.
God.
He inspired his students, and he changed lives.
He is just so joyful in everything that he does, but I
And
think
he-
also standing up for, what he...
And Tim Walz still Snapchats his students. Yeah. He's on Snapchat. Mm-hmm.
In southern Minnesota, Tim spent a lot of time working with Republicans, fighting to help farmers and expanding veterans' benefits.
Fighting
Whether it was in
Republicans.
Congress or as governor, his focus has always been helping working people like those he grew up with. That's why he fought for the largest tax cut in Minnesota state history,
but Tim Walz was there for small businesses like ours.
With the urging of Governor Walz, we were able to pass the Alex Smith Insulin Affordability Act, and it has saved lives in Minnesota.
With Tim as governor, Minnesota is one of the best places to raise a family and one of the best states for business. Tim's a lifelong hunter and gun owner.
Oh my God.
In the field, firing a gun.
But after the Sandy Hook school shooting, he knew that we had to do something.
Stop
so he's
shooting.
fought for background checks and red flag laws. But of all the things he's done, Tim loves being a dad. We struggled to have kids. And fertility treatments made it possible.
Don't say IVF because
There's
that's why.
a reason our daughter is named Hope.
You didn't say
Hope
it.
and Gus mean the world to us.
Governor Walz making good on a promise to his son and family yesterday by getting them a puppy.
Then we're going to go get some food, corn dog,
I'm vegetarian.
turkey then, and
Turkey's meat.
not in Minnesota, turkey special.
He's as at home on a farm, a fishing boat, a football field, or a factory floor as he is on the floor of Congress. Tim's commitment to service all comes back to the values we grew up with.
Wrap it up.
Love your country, help your neighbor, and fight for what's right. Because that's what America is all about.
2 middle-class kids. One, a daughter of Oakland, California. The other, a son of the Nebraska Plains, only in America. Is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House?
All right.
On his face, leaning on his mother's shoulder as he watched that introduction to his father. And here he is, the biggest political speech of his career, hoping to be the next vice president of the United States. Kamala Harris, the vice president,
He's doing the
calling
Michael
Tim
Scott
Walz
thing.
a short time ago to wish him good luck. This is the only night she's not here, but I think it's pretty safe to say she's watching tonight. There's Gus, there's Hope, and there's his wife, Webb.
That's cute. I get that. It's your kids.
Thank you.
God, look at all those pitchforks.
Thank you.
Can we get a zoom in on that mouth? Bow before me.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you, first
Kid
of
looks
all,
like Kyle
to
Rittenhouse.
Vice President Harris. Thanks for putting your trust in me and for inviting me to be part of this incredible campaign.
It is funny.
Thank you,
They love crying.
President Joe Biden, for 4 years
Wow,
of
Joe
strong,
Biden.
historic leadership.
Historic. God. If you say it enough, it's true.
It's the honor of my life to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States.
Yeah, that is a new story, Josh.
We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country. So thank you to all of you here in Chicago and all of you watching at home tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your passion.
Yeah.
Thank you for your determination.
You're welcome.
And most of all, thank you for bringing the joy to this fight.
Wow. So much joy. Joy.
Now, I grew up in Butte, Nebraska, a town of 400 people. I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale. But I'll tell you what, growing up in a small town like that, you learn how to take care of each other. That family down the road, they may not think like you do. They may not pray like you do. They may not love like you do, but they're your neighbors. And you look out for them, and they look out for you. Everybody belongs.
Oh my God, dude.
And
Get it together.
everybody has a responsibility to contribute. For me, it was serving in the Army National Guard.
Uh-oh. Tell us you went to
I
war.
joined up
Say you went to war.
2 days after my 17th birthday,
Say you went
and
to
I
war.
proudly wore our nation's uniform for 24 years.
And did you have a pew-pew?
My dad, a Korean War era Army veteran, died of lung cancer a couple years later. He left behind a mountain of medical debt. Thank God for Social Security survivor benefits. And thank God for the GI Bill that allowed my dad and me to go to college, and millions of other Americans. Eventually,
He does have a huge mouth.
like the rest of my family, I fell in love with teaching.
Snore.
3 out of 4 of us married teachers. I wound up teaching social studies and coaching football at Mankato West High School. Go Scarlets. We ran a 44 defense. We played through to the whistle on every single play, and we even won a state championship. Never closed the yearbook, people. But it was those players and my students who inspired me to run for Congress. They saw in me what I had hoped to instill in them, a commitment to the common good, an understanding that we're all in this together.
Oh, God. COVID all over again.
And the belief that a single person can make a real difference for their neighbors. So
He
there
was
I
hot for
was,
teacher.
a 40-something high school teacher with little kids, 0 political experience, and no money, running in a deep red district. But you know what? Never underestimate a public school teacher.
Oh, my God. Snore. You're just a teacher. Okay? Relax.
My neighbors in Congress for 12 years, and I learned an awful lot. I learned how to work across the aisle on issues like growing the rural economies and taking care of veterans. And I learned how to compromise without compromising my values. Then I came back to serve as governor, and we got right to work making a difference in our neighbors' lives. We cut taxes for the middle class. We passed paid family and medical leave. We invested in fighting crime and affordable housing. We cut the cost of prescription drugs and helped people escape the kind of medical debt that nearly sank my family. And we made sure that every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours. We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Mind your own damn business.
And that includes IVF and fertility treatments. And this is personal for Gwen and I. If you've never experienced the hell that is infertility, I guarantee you, you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call.
Oh, 100%.
The pit in your stomach when the phone would ring, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you. I'm letting you in on how we started a family Because this is a big part about what this election is about. Freedom. When Republicans use the word freedom, they mean that the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. Corporations, free to pollute your air and water. And banks, free to take advantage of customers. But when we Democrats talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make a better life for yourself and the people that you love.
What?
Freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And yeah, your kids' freedom to go to school without worrying about being shot dead in the hall. Look, I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. And I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I got the trophies to prove it. But I'm also a dad.
Oh, I love shooting.
I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe.
About to cry again.
That's what this is all about. The responsibility we have to our kids, to each other, and to the future that we're building together, in which everyone is free to build the kind of life they want. But not everyone has that same sense of responsibility. Some folks just don't understand what it takes to be a good neighbor. Take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
Here we go.
Their Project 2025 will make things much, much harder for people who are just trying to live their lives.
How?
They spent a lot of time pretending they know nothing about this. But look, I coached high school football long enough to know, and trust me on this, when somebody takes the time to draw up a playbook, they're gonna use it. And we know if these guys get back in the White House, they'll start jacking up the costs on the middle class, they'll repeal the Affordable Care Act, they'll gut Social Security and Medicare, and they will ban abortion across this country with or without Congress.
No, that's a lie.
Here's the thing. It's an agenda nobody asked for. It's an agenda that serves nobody except the richest and the most extreme amongst us. And it's an agenda that does nothing for our neighbors in need. Is it weird? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also wrong. And it's dangerous. It's not just me saying so. It's Trump's own people. They were with him for 4 years. They're warning us that the next 4 years will be much, much worse. You know, when I was teaching every year, we'd elect a student body president. And you know what? Those teenagers could teach Donald Trump a hell of a lot about what a leader is. Leaders don't spend all day insulting people and blaming others. Leaders do the work. So I don't know about you, I'm ready to turn the page on these guys. So go ahead, say it with me. We're not going back. We've got something better to offer the American people. It starts with our candidate, Kamala Harris. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, as an attorney general, as a United States senator, and then our vice president, she's fought on the side of the American people. She's taken on the predators and fraudsters. She's taken down the transnational gangs, and she stood up to powerful corporate interests. She has never hesitated to reach across that aisle if it meant improving your lives. And she's always done it with energy, with passion, and with joy. Folks, we've got a chance to make Kamala Harris the next president of the United States. But I think we owe it to the American people
He's a
to
good
tell them
speaker.
exactly what she'd do as president before we ask them for their votes. So this is the part, clip and save it and send it to your undecided relatives so they know. If you're a middle-class family or a family trying to get into the middle class, Kamala Harris is going to cut your taxes. If you're getting squeezed by prescription drug prices, Kamala Harris is going to take on Big Pharma. If you're hoping to buy a home, Kamala Harris is going to help make it more affordable.
How?
And no matter who you are,
$25,000?
Kamala Harris is going to stand up and fight for your freedom to live the life that you want to lead. Because that's what we want for ourselves, and it's what we want for our neighbors. You know, you might not know it, but I haven't given a lot of big speeches like this. But I have given a lot of pep talks. So let me finish with this, team. It's the fourth quarter. We're down a field goal.
None of these people
but we're
play
on
sports.
offense and we've got the ball. We're driving down the field. And boy, do we have the right team. Kamala Harris is tough. Kamala Harris is experienced, and Kamala Harris is ready. Our job for everyone watching is to get in the trenches and do the blocking and tackling. 1 inch at a time, 1 yard at a time, 1 phone call at a time, 1 door knock at a time, 1 $5 donation at a time. Look, we got 76 days. That's nothing. There'll be time to sleep when you're dead. We're going to leave it on the field. That's how we'll keep moving forward. That's how we'll turn the page on Donald Trump. That's how we'll build a country where workers come first. Healthcare and housing are human rights.
He's good at it, though, BKL. He's good at it.
And the government
He's good at
stays
lying.
the hell out of your bedroom.
What?
That's how we make America a place where no child is left hungry, where no community is left behind, where nobody gets told they don't belong. That's how we're gonna fight. And as the next president of the United States always says, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight, thank you. God bless.
Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota making his case. He said,
I'm not gonna lie, that might have been one of the best political speeches I've heard in a long time.
given a lot of pep talk
About
the teleprompter.
I'm not saying it was truthful, but
Even before he even knew he was the chosen one by Kamala Harris, just to practice, looks like he got
I mean,
skill set going here on the teleprompter.
Look, he mastered that teleprompter, and David, when Kamala Harris began this very truncated search for a running mate, he was a dark horse. He was not listed in the top tier at all. But you saw there why she chose him, the stylistic contrast.
You almost felt like the people in the room got a trip to Mankato High School tonight, what it was like to be coached by Tim Walz, taught by Tim Walz, and whether you like his politics or not, for the millions watching across the country, you certainly got a sense of who he is, given the fact that he hasn't been on the national stage for very long. Mary, you and I were talking about the family.
Yeah.
And again, we can all relate, whether or not you agree, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, when you see a son.
I mean, he's gonna run for president eventually, just based on that speech alone. Shit. You guys don't. It doesn't matter if he lies. That's the problem. If it feels good, it was emotional based. It took you on a journey. You were captivated. You didn't stop watching. I mean, he was corny. He talked about his family, and it sort of seems like his family actually likes him. Very interesting.
A lot more of that.
from Butte, Nebraska, 24 kids in his high school class. He said, none of us went to Yale.
I haven't seen banners like that for a long time.
And
Me
Lindsay,
either.
there was a lot of policy in there, too. He talked about he fought as governor and made it happen that they feed all students in public schools. He said, instead of throwing out books, we threw out hunger.
That's right. We were banishing the hunger in ours. And
Oh, God. Yeah, put porn back in schools, according to Democrats.
with that coach analogy, right? He was talking about lowering the prescription drugs.
He might be a good hosting a game show. Yeah.
The playbook, if you will, that naturally a
No,
coach would do.
No, that was a good speech. I can't lie. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not so captured that I can't say if something's good or not.
True football coach there, but something.
It felt like a pep talk. It felt like a coach pepping me up for something.
Dad energy, and I have to tell you, 17-year-old Gus just stole my heart when he said, "That's my dad. That's my dad." Tears in his eyes means so much, the pride and love of a beaming son.
Yeah, hard for anyone not to have that moment sort of connect with. We all have family.
God, Democrats trying to all of a sudden be the party of family and patriotism, and it's just such an interesting narrative shift for them. I would have never thought they would all of a sudden do that. Let's see what the conservatards are talking about.
And as far as his life story goes, I don't know. I mean, he's gonna
Genuinely wholesome. I'll give. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I wanted to say it wasn't, but it was.
Political experience. I think it's going to be more of his life, as they want people to see it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to what Pete Buttigieg was talking about, which is how he makes you feel. Like, it's all about. This is all about feelings. We don't want to talk about record.
I get that's a talking point to say that Tim Walz is all about feelings, but when you are giving a speech, unfortunately, a lot of it is about feeling. If you don't, you could, I mean, no one's going to listen to a speech from an accountant.
He's the coach, right?
It's just
understand how to hype people up. That's what so much of coaching is, especially a defensive coordinator. That's what they do. It's about getting guys to run through brick walls for you. So
I was on defense.
In this case, in Tim Walz, brick walls. But this is what I expect: is a lot of the high energy, the smiling, the pointing to start.
I wonder if Kamala Harris picked him based completely off of public speaking. I'm just curious. What a crazy time of year. Republicans felt like this was in the bag when it was just Joe Biden. Now things have switched. Well, they got to wake up. JD Vance especially. Holy shizzle. All right, guys. It was fun live streaming that with you. I'm going to go live in the morning around 9 a.m. Eastern. Come hang out with me. I'm going to break down everything I thought about with that speech. I'm going to give you an honest take. And I hope you enjoy honest takes. It might not be what you want to hear, but I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can. And yes, there was a lot of lies, but that was a good speech. Democrats are always about feelings. That's nothing new, says Marcia. Yeah. And people, look, for people that don't actually read the news or engage in politics, they vote based on feelings. They just do. And that is something that Republicans need to get better at. And you gotta wake that side of the brain up. Unfortunately, they haven't learned their lesson. I don't know who surrounds these freaking idiots with the people, but they think that you can just like get in based on like good policy and good ideas. You can't. You have to make people believe. You got to make people like feel and get excited and feel like you're going to change their life. You have to be a bit of a cult leader, to get people to go to the polls, unfortunately. But maybe I'll be completely wrong, So I always said, like, one of the worst things you can do is to bet on who's going to win the presidency. One of the worst things you can do, because it's almost impossible. Democrats don't know. People often don't remember what you say, but how you made them feel. Okay, thank you, Joshua. Exactly, dude. Exactly. Like, I don't remember Donald Trump's 4-hour speeches, but I remember the moments he made me laugh. And that makes me feel good. I like that. You know, I've never listened to a speech and been like, wow, that was, he had that one policy talk. Yeah, he said that one thing. It really made me believe him. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna bring the energy and the heat in the morning. So look out for that. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Always fun live streaming. Probably do the same tomorrow night for Kamala Harris. Kamala is not gonna be as good as this. This is Democrats' problem right here. Is that Tim Walz is up here with his public speaking. Kamala is gonna be down here. There's no way.
She's gonna go, you guys know what AI is? It's like 2 letters, and it's artificial and intelligence.
And the one thing that Republicans are going to hope and pray for is that her teleprompter goes out.